Hello, all. Welcome to Developing Success. So, today we are going to complete the chapter of biomes, which is a very important topic in your environment and ecology part of the UPSC exam mainly. Let me tell you some three things which I need to announce here is that there are three parts in this in which I have prepared the biomes. The first part we will do actually five biomes, and the second part again we will be completing five biomes. So in total there are 10 biomes, and apart from this 10 biomes we will also do in part 3 lecture about the prelims questions, because every year they have asked at least two questions from this chapter biome, and I have compiled all the questions of 2011 till 2019 in a particular lecture to discuss all the questions with you. I just want to show you that if you follow this lecture and if you follow all the maps and about the climate, it will be very easy for you to solve the questions of biomes. Okay, so we start with a lecture. So what are biomes? I told you in the ecology chapter also what are biomes. They are just the geographic specific area in which some notable living species are there. Okay, so they can be a continuous chain, they can be a discontinuous chain, they can be in patches present. For example, there's one area in Mediterranean, there is one area in Australia, and both have the same type of flora and fauna, so we can call them a biome with a separate location, with separate patches of location. Okay, and no biome is actually ending at a particular zone, so they always have transitions, they always have ecotones, as we talked about in the ecology lecture about the ecotones. So they are actually the transitional areas. For example, between a tropical grassland biome and between a monsoon biome, I mean between a full tree biome and between a grassland biome, there can be a desert biome. Okay, and the deserts actually don't become suddenly, they are the grasslands which have been either desertified in many years, or they can be just transitional areas at the edge of the grasslands, so that can be. And biomes moves as the climate change occurs. Okay, because the total concept of the biome is dependent upon the climate and the climatic factors. So on what all factors does our climate depend? So our climate depend on rainfall. Okay, so on rainfall it depends. Apart from rainfall, it can depend on ocean currents. Okay, apart from ocean current, it can depend upon the topography of the area. Topography means is the presence of mountains, plateaus, plains, rivers, seas, all that. So the climate of a particular place depends upon many things, and it just not depends on the latitude. Okay, I will be proving here that in the same latitude you can have two kinds of biomes, like we have in the temperate region, also in the subtropical region, etc. So before continuing with the types of the biomes, I want to clear you about the separate zones in the world map. So we will see this map. As you can see, I have drawn some lines on this map, and it will be very easy for you to see. For example, if you see this one, this is equator, 0 degree. Okay, and this 0 degree is actually called the equatorial zone. Up to the 10 degrees north and 10 degrees south, it is the equatorial zone. And then this black line is actually 23.5 degree north, which is known as the Tropic of Cancer, and this downwards also 23.5 degree south, which is known as Tropic of Capricorn. So this region is the tropical region, and from actually 20 degree to 30 degree, so around 20 to 30 you will have the tropical zone. Okay, on both the hemispheres, north and southern hemisphere. So around 20 to 30 will be your tropical zone. Now in this tropical zone, actually you can also call the equator as a tropical zone. I will tell you the reason. It is because of the tilt of the earth's axis, and also because of the revolution. So this whole area, actually from 30 degree north to 30 degree south, we can call it a torrid zone. Okay, this is the torrid zone. So this is the tropical and the torrid zone also. Now from 35 degree, actually from 35 degree north to around 50 degree, we call it actually the temperate region. Okay, so this is the main temperate region from 35 to 50 degree north. Now in between 30 to 35 the area is left, and I told you there are some transition areas. So in between 30 to 35 we call it subtropical. What do we call it? We call it subtropical. It is not tropical, it is not temperate, but it is between the temperate and the tropical, and the area is known as subtropical. Above the temperate region is your 50 degree, from 50 degree to actually 70 degree you can take as subpolar. Okay, from 50 degree to 70 degree is your subpolar, and above 70 degree is your complete polar zone, above 70 degree. So this was in brief about the zones. I will just repeat so that you don't forget. So 0 degree is actually your equatorial region. You can also note down because this is very basic. It will help you in understanding the climatic zones and also the pressure belts of the world. And from 20 degree to around 30 degree you have tropical zone, and from 30 degree to 35 degree is a small zone. You can, sometimes it goes till 40, you can take as subtropical. This is the subtropical, and from around 35 degree to 40 degree and up to what, up to some 60 to 50 degree, we should take 50 degree, it is actually temperate zone. Okay, and from 50 to 70 you have subpolar zones, or obviously we have transitions here also, and then till 90 degree you have your polar zone. So this is actually the demarcation. Is the most important part here is subtropical. I will make you understand why. Now we move on to another segment, and this is about the tilt of the earth's axis. As you can see, our earth is not actually standing in complete right angle, it is actually tilted, and the tilt is around 23 degrees. Okay, so this tilt actually what it does, the earth is also doing a revolution around the sun. So when this revolution is done, the position of the sun in accordance with the earth changes. Okay, so this position, equator, the sun is overhead on this equator on two dates. So the first date I will tell you is the 21st March. So on 21st March the sun is overhead on the equator, so it is overhead, and the tropical area is receiving the slanting rays. So because of this slanting rays, we do not have complete summer in March. We have a different kind of season. We cannot call it a completely spring area in tropical region, but we can call it, it is not summer also and it is not winter also. And then it moves on, and you can see this area remains dark. So that is why this area does not have any vegetation. Okay, again this area downwards also remains dark, and this area also does not have any vegetation because of the tilt. If it would have standing straight, it would have received proper sunlight, but it is tilted, that is why. Then after 21st March the position moves upwards to the tropics. Okay, this position to the tropics, and the sun reaches here on 21st June. So this area again is getting the slanting rays. Overhead sun we are getting on the tropic of Cancer, and equator is getting the slanting rays. So now equator is behaving like the tropical area. That is why I told you before that equator also you can call it a tropical area in 3 seasons, or in 2 seasons you can call. Now above this the position of the sun never goes, because when it tries to goes above the sun, the earth changes its position through the revolution. So the sun's position starts coming down, and it reaches the equator again on 21st September. Okay, so after June to September, again September, you see the overhead sun is on the equator and we are receiving just the slanting rays. So here we are not experiencing complete summer. Okay, after 21st September, the sun reaches to the Tropic of Capricorn on 21st December. So on 21st December, there is a overhead sun here. There is a slanting rays in equator, but there are more slanting rays. There are less slanting rays in our area, Tropic of Cancer. So we are receiving winter here. Okay, so this is the position, and after December again it moves to the equator and it reaches at 21st March. So between this whole circle, 2 times actually the sun is at the horizon on the equator. First is 21st March and second is 21st September. So equator actually do not have any winter. It is just summer, and when the sun is on the horizon of the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, they experience mild summer. Okay, so they never will experience winter season, but we on the tropical areas, we receive a complete winter and a complete summer season because we are on the blessing zone. This is known as the blessing zone, the torrid zone. As you can see, the sun is never overhead on the subtropical, on the temperate, on the polar and the subpolar areas. It is never like that. So that is why the biodiversity is also less there. You have more grasslands, and you have more largely spaced trees, but you can't have good forest because the sun's position will also be warming up the oceans. If they warm up the oceans, you will have good precipitation. So that is why as you move up in the latitude, the rainfall actually decreases. So this is the whole matter attached to it. So I will explain again and again about this when we do the biome chapter. Now we start with the first biome, and that is your tundra biome. So the tundra biome is actually present in the subpolar and the polar regions. It is mainly present in the ice cap regions, okay, and above the tree line. So above the tree line means that the tundra biome does not have the tree cover. It does not have a proper biodiversity. So the locations are actually Alaska, Canada, Iceland, Russia, Siberia. As you can see on the map, you have Alaska here, okay, you have Canada, this part, you have some part of Greenland, some part of Iceland, you have the Scandinavian countries, and then you have the Russia part. Okay, so this is actually the tundra biome. And in the tundra biome, there are two kinds of tundra biome actually. The first is Arctic tundra. Obviously this one is your Arctic tundra. If you ask me about the Antarctica, we cannot call it a tundra biome because it is completely ice sheet completely, and the human habitation or any kind of habitation is not there. So where there is no life, you cannot call it a biome. Okay, so if you ask me that why there is no life but there is life in the Arctic tundra, because the Arctic tundra has land area and ocean area both. So because of the contrast of the temperature, the high pressure and the low pressure cells develop, and because of that you have some kind of snowfall, sleet, rainfall, and that also melts in the winter season. But in the Antarctica part, it is not any contrast. They do not have much contrast. So that is why that area remains the same all the year round. Apart from that, the winter temperatures of this tundra is actually going till -30 to -50 degrees Celsius. There are no trees in the tundra, and the prominent vegetation is mosses and the lichens. Okay, they have patches of hard grass which provide food to reindeer. So we know that the animal present there is reindeer. As the summer sets in, the Arctic flowers bloom. Other animals are Arctic fox, wolves, polar bear, lemming, Arctic hare, and musk ox. So this is the biodiversity there. And actually reptiles and amphibians are negligible animals present here and have a very long life if they are present, like around 150 years of average life. Mammals of tundra region have very large body size to preserve heat. So this is a strategy of adaptation. They preserve heat in the large body so that they can survive the wrath of the cold present in the tundra biome. So this was all about the tundra biome. You can all see the location. Okay, see the location here on the map. The green patch which is mentioned is your tundra biome. Next biome we study is your taiga biome. So here is where the actually vegetation starts. Okay, so this is actually known as the forest area, tree line area, and this taiga biome area is also known as boreal forest. It is present in Canada, US, Norway, Sweden, Finland. These are the Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Poland, Russia. Okay, these are the North Europe countries. They have moderate temperature and are known as boreal forest. Precipitation again 40 to 60 cm. So the soil is very poor because of the weathering of the rocks. Okay, and they do not support any type of agriculture because of very poor soil. Okay, remember this. And they have coniferous vegetation like the pine, the firs, the spruce, etc. And they have Siberian tigers, hawks, puma, elks, wolves, and red foxes. So let me tell you, the productivity and community stability of a boreal forest are lower than those of any other forest ecosystem in the world. and the plant biodiversity is also far smaller in compared to other biomes. But it is very important for the breeding of the birds during the summer season, and the boreal forest holds the largest pool of living biomass. Remember this, this is a very important thing. It holds the largest pool of the living biomass of the terrestrial surface. It is thought to be at net sink of the carbon at present. So let me show you this by the diagram. If you see the location actually of the taiga biome, this is the largest area under the forest, which is a terrestrial biome. So whatever we have studied till now was related to the coastal part or the aquatic part. If you can see the southern hemisphere, it is too much of water all the way, and the land area is very less. So if you see the northern hemisphere, the land area is much, and in the northern hemisphere, if you see the taiga area, it is the largest pool of the terrestrial ecosystem, and it is the largest pool of the plant biodiversity also, which is present on the terrestrial part, okay, not on the marine part, terrestrial part. So if in exam they ask you about the carbon sink which is largest in the terrestrial ecosystem or forest ecosystem, the answer should be taiga, because this continuous chain of taiga provides the largest pool of the terrestrial ecosystem, and some 30% of the world's terrestrial ecosystem actually stays here. So this was about the taiga, and very important because it is known as boreal forest, and the coniferous trees are, they are short heighted, not too much tall, because they don't have that sunlight to catch. So because a very less sunlight reaches there. So the 30% terrestrial pool, and you can see the taiga biome location, you can see it here. So all the blue portions which have been marked in the map is your taiga biome. So the upper portions actually which are left here, we can see, I can draw for you the upper portions which were left. This is actually what? This is tundra, which we did just now, and the just below it is your taiga biome. So taiga is known as the end of the tree line. That is why in tundra you do not find any kind of tree or vegetation. Now next we move to temperate rainforest biome. It is very important because it has some peculiar things. Temperate rainforest, this rainforest is actually influenced by the ocean currents, and that is why it is called rainforest. So these two terms are actually contrasting in itself. One is temperate and one is rainforest. So I just told you that temperate does not have proper rainfall because it does not have proper overhead sun and heat. So how can it precipitate? So they have rainforest and they are the temperate region. First we will see the location. Just see the location, this one here, and then you have here in the northern Europe, this part you can see this, and here, and in the southern hemisphere also we have. So if you see the location, you will understand one thing, that it is actually present near the sea. All the locations are actually present near the ocean, okay. And if you see it minutely, if you have studied well in the class which I taught you during the ocean currents, you will be able to recall that here in the Newfoundland, from here a warm ocean current moves, and this warm ocean current is warm Atlantic drift, okay. Again if you see here, you have Alaska current, okay. So this part is your Alaska current, and if you see here, this part also you have some warm current, South Pacific warm current. So and this part is actually your cold. First of all, this part brings the warm current, and then it goes up as a cold current, which is a cold Peru current. So these are the areas of actually warm currents, and what these warm currents do, they actually make the coastal water warm, because currents actually flow very near to the coast, and they make the water warm. Because of this warmth, the evaporation starts, and because of the evaporation, they are receiving rainfall. Apart from that, this area which we are talking about is a temperate area, and it is a comparatively cooler area when we compare it with the tropical area. So when these warm currents come, they actually come in the place of the cooler areas, okay. So they have a temperature contrast, and because of this temperature contrast, they receive fog. So fog is the main precipitation here, and we can see the fog here all the year round. Like we say, when two people meet in London, they talk about the weather. It can change anytime. Okay, so they belong to the tropical area, but in the terms of snow, in the form of sleet, in the form of fog, they receive this precipitation all the year round, and around 200 cm they receive because of this, and that is why they have a rainforest. So when 200 cm rainfall, actually when 150 cm rainfall increases, we start calling it wet forest, and when it reaches 200 cm, it is actually a rainforest, or you can also call it evergreen forest. So this is the region in temperate area where the evergreen forest is there. Now one more thing I will make you study here is that there are also westerly winds. So in this area, because it is a high latitude area, and westerlies are more prevalent in the high latitude areas. So when the westerly winds actually move from west to east, they carry the warm moist water. Okay, so this moisture, when they carry, they are obstructed by the Alps present here, by the mountains of Scotland here. So when they are obstructed also, they can create rainfall. But as these winds move further, landward, they lose their moisture. So that is why side by side of the rainforest is actually present your temperate deciduous forest. And if you go far, if you go another far in the area, you will have grassland. Okay, so on the edge of the ocean, you will have rainforest or evergreen forest, and simply a bit toward landwards, it loses moisture and the rainfall decreases, and you have deciduous forest. And more landward, so they loses the moisture completely, and there is a very less rainfall, around 50 to 60 cm annually. Then the grasslands come. Okay, so this is how they actually have the transition area in the temperate region. Now we study about the temperate rainforest. So temperate rainforest, the winter is quite long and wet also, and the summer is short, dry and foggy. See, the summer is also foggy, so that is why they are receiving 200 cm precipitation all the year round. So the areas are, you can see from here, the areas are Alaska, Western Canada border, okay, Western USA border you have. Then you have areas of Western Scotland, Western Ireland, Western Wales, okay, and then the northern part of Germany, France, that area which is touching the North Sea here. And then you have some part here in Japan and Korean peninsula, and also in Taiwan and China down there, and in New Zealand, in Australia, and here in Chile and Argentina. So these are the areas of the temperate rainforest. So in the temperate rainforest, remember this, that fog is the dominant important source of water in this area. Why? I told you. Big conifers. So there is a difference. Taiga had small conifers, and now we are coming downwards by latitude. So we have now big conifers which dominates this habitat, like the cedar, mountain hemlock, oak, hems, birches, walnut, lodge pine, spruce, ferns, epiphytes, etc. And the animals, the fauna here is red fox, salamanders, porcupines, woodpeckers, etc. So these were the things. Next we move on to temperate deciduous. So I just told you about the temperate deciduous. From the location you must have understand what I was talking about. So as you just go landward, okay, the precipitation will decrease and everything will be coming towards east. Okay, so this is your temperate deciduous. They have abnormally mild winters, and this is a very interesting area because this is the only biome in the world which has 4 distinct seasons. Okay, 4 proper distinct season. If we talk about India, like in the months of March and April, the flower should bloom if it is a spring, but it is not a spring actually, because in this season actually the tropical deciduous forest in India shed their leaves. So shedding their leaves is not spring. Spring is all about blooming of the new flowers and the new leaves. So that blooming of the new flowers and the new leaves in the months of April and May is actually present in this temperate deciduous biome of Europe and the temperate region of the world. And this is the area where you have proper 4 distinct season. And when you go to Europe or Japan or the east coast of China or the east coast of USA, some parts of California, then you will be able to see complete spring, complete blooming of the flowers. And they have actually abnormally wild winters, and the winter is also very long. So the winter is very depressing, foggy situation. As I told you, complete rainfall will not be there, but there will be a foggy situation, there will be a depressing winter. So spring is actually very much celebrated here because they come out from the very long and depressing winter. And they are also this depression and this low pressure is caused by the North Atlantic drift, which is a cold current, and they're mainly influenced by the westerlies also. But as I told you, as these winds travel landward, they will lose the moisture and the rainfall will be decreasing, and this deciduous biome will be coming up. And one most important thing about this biome is all the leaves are shed by them in winter. As you can see in India, the leaves do not get shed in winter. We have leaves in winter. They are shedding after winter in the months of March and April. But for them, they actually shed their leaves in winter. Why? Because this foggy situation and sometimes the snowy situation, the leaves actually have adapted to this climate, and they shed their leaves not so the blooming season comes in the spring. Okay, the important dominant trees are oak, poplar, beech, and willow. Okay, so this is the location. As you can see, a very large patch. Next, last biome for this lecture is your Mediterranean biome. This is a very special biome, okay, because it the most important feature why we study this biome throughout is because it does not have any rainfall in summer. It is having a wet winter, which is very abnormal. Why? Because if the winters, if you call it winters, there is no warmth. If there is no warmth, there is no evaporation. If there is no evaporation, there will be no condensation. No condensation, no precipitation. So how come they have wet winters? So because you have to study some topic in this about the pressure belts. Okay, so I will just brief you about one small thing here is that if you take this as my earth, and this is your 0 degree equator, okay, this is your 23.5 degree north, and this is your 23.5 degree south. Okay, so and here comes your 35 degree, which is the subtropical. Okay, so let's assume that the 0 degree equator is your ITCZ. What is ITCZ? Intertropical convergence zone. So we call that area as ITCZ, where the sun is overhead. If the sun is overhead here, then we call this area as ITCZ. So this we are talking about two situations, 21st March and 21st September. Okay, so when the sun is here, the wind actually from the oceans rise because it is too warm, so they become the convectional current, the evaporation, they travel upward. So when they travel upward, they get cold and condense, and they again start falling. So when they fall, they actually fall on the subtropical area. So they fell on the subtropical area. Now you tell me that what the wind which fell on the subtropical area is actually the cold wind which is coming from a greater height. So this cold wind makes this area cold, and this cold wind actually settles on the ground and creates a high pressure. So in the high pressure situation, or in the situation of the coolness, there will be no vertical currents, there will be no condensation and evaporation, so there will be no rainfall. So in the summer season, actually, when the in the summer season of this temperate zone, when the sun is at the equator or the Tropic of Cancer, this cycle actually gets repeated. Okay, so that is why in summer they don't have any rainfall, because it is a kind of high pressure area that time because of the subsidence of wind. Okay, but when the sun actually moves downward in the winter season, so when the sun's position is here in the Tropic of Capricorn, this area in the northern hemisphere is receiving winter. So in the winter season, when the sun rays are here and the winds actually rise, so they rise and they fall near the ITCZ and the tropical areas. They do not influence the subtropical area here. So when they do not influence the subtropical area, the North Atlantic drift make the coastal water warm, and because of this warmthness there will be some evaporation and there will be rainfall in this part, which is known as winter rainfall of the Mediterranean. I hope you understood, but I took this whole lecture in the class in a very detailed manner. So for the Mediterranean, I will just tell you that this is mainly because of the westerlies, and this is also because of the shifting of the pressure belts. So one thing you need to remember is the poleward extension and expansion of the subtropical anticyclones over the oceans bring the subsiding air to the region in summer with clear skies and high temperatures but no rainfall. Okay, so they get a winter rainfall, and that winter rainfall is around 90 to 100 cm annual. And because they get a rainfall in winter season, and because of the North Atlantic diff moisture, there is a grass patch, so this is known as dry evergreen forest. So the concept itself is contrasted, dry evergreen. Okay, so dry because of the summer is dry, and evergreen because they have vegetation and forest and the whole thing in the winter. So dry evergreen forest, they are known as Mediterranean biome. They are present in the subtropical latitude from 30 degree to 40 degree, and they are also known as broadleaf evergreen vegetation. Important things are grapes, oranges, kiwi, mainly the citrus fruits. They are mainly sandwiched between deserts and temperate forests. Okay, fire is an important hazard. Where the fire is an important hazard, where there is a completely dry season. So they have a completely dry season, the leaves must be shedding or falling, so these leaves actually catch fire from the warmth of the climate, and there is a fire. So the trees are adapted to the fire, and those trees which are adapted to the fire is known as sclerophyllus. And they have also xerophytic type of vegetation which can actually survive in the drought of those 7 months of dryness. Winters are cool, trees are adapted to fire, and they have also extensive root system. Why there will be a root system? Because they have a dry season, the roots will be deep and they will be penetrating deep down to actually take the water by the way of transpiration for the plants. So this is also a type of adaptation. So the adaptation, when the question is asked in mains or prelims examination, you can identify it with the Mediterranean forest much. Now we will see the map. See the map. The complete subtropical area is the Mediterranean biome. Because it was identified and more prominent in the Mediterranean Sea region, this biome has been named as Mediterranean biome. But you can also see this biome completely in California, central Chile, western Cape of South Africa, and western and southern Australia. As you can see, the latitude is completely defined as subtropical zone, and I told you the reason. Two reasons: because of the westerlies and also because of the shifting of the pressure belts and this area becoming a high pressure by the subsidence of winds. Okay, so this was all about this lecture, and in part 2 we will be studying 5 other biomes. So actually there will be 10 biomes. I am repeatedly saying you that this chapter is very important because every year we have at least 2 questions in prelims from this chapter. So revise well. If you have any doubt, please ask me on the comment section, and for the developing success students, you can ask me on WhatsApp also. So very soon I will just come up with the part 2 and part 3. Stay tuned. Thank you.